Sometimes there are things about yourself that you just can't deny or suppress. And for me, it's that I'm a Jag man. I never knew I was, but it turns out that I am. You've probably seen this one before. 1962 Roadster. I've had it for about 15 years. I love it. It's a keeper. But in recent years, it's been joined by an XK150 that Neil restored in his old workshop, an XK120 for restoration, haven't started it yet, the XJR that you probably have seen on DRIVETRIBE being restored, and now there's another one, this. No, not that, that's a Neil, mate. This is well, there's quite a good story about how I came to own this one. Basically, Neil came to the workshop. You came in one day and said, hey, do you still want... Well, the car I'd always wanted to join what is now a Jaguar collection was a 1962, same year as the Roadster, coupe in dark opalescent blue. And then Neil comes into the workshop one day and says...
Yeah. Going to the supermarket, Saturday morning, as usual, getting the groceries, and this lovely chap walks up to me and says, are you that chap off TV? And I said, oh, well, I might be. And we went talking, and he said, he's got a couple of Austin Healey's, never mentioned E-types. I've got an Austin Healey 3 litre, blah, 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 blah. And I was, oh, that's lovely, I might want a bit of paintwork. I said, well, come down and see us. I said, we'd love to see it, you know, we're just talking about cars. Oh, and I've got an E-type as well. And I said, oh, right, what's your E-type? Oh, fixed edge Series 1. I said, oh, right, because you're not selling it, you, just for curiosity. And he goes, yeah, I am actually, I want to sell it. And I said, well, I know Richard was looking for a fixed head, as we had a conversation about before. And this first conversation just went on like that. And I said, okay, well, nice to meet you. You know, I took his phone number and I just sort of carried on with shopping. Before I got to the door, he'd gone home and come back with 3 photographs of this car. And I looked at it and I thought, that looks a nice car. I mean, we had a bit of a chat about it. And he said, well, the only thing is, it's not the original colour. And I went, oh, right, what colour was it originally in? Dark opalescent blue.
There you go. And so that's my car, the one I've always wanted. I know, so it literally landed in my lap. Next thing we know, we're over at his house. What a great guy.
Unbelievable.
We're still talking to him. And I buy this. So, this is our Skunk Works After Hours project. This is our hobby car. What I'm loving about this project is it takes us right back to the early days. Back to when my 150 was in your tram garage. Yeah. So, I was here yesterday.
Yeah, you were.
I'm putting in not as many hours as you.
No. No, but it's nice because it's going back to basics. Yeah. It's going back to how it was.
Yeah.
And the problem is, that's my car. I bought that about 6-7 years ago. Never touched it. I ain't got time. Yeah. Never got. People say to me, "What car have you got?"
It's just whatever.
I've got your van. I've got a gas van actually. It is blue.
But the plan is for this. Here in Neil's workshop, we're going to restore this, and we're going to take it all the way. We've been stripping it back. Engine and gearbox have already gone. First job.
That's gone off.
We hooked those out in week 1. They've gone off to Rick Wood. There are other Jaguar specialists. Rick Wood, you'll know from the TV show if you've been watching the workshop. He's a legend in motorsports. More often seen rebuilding Capri engines and the like for racing. But what I found out from him was he cut his teeth on the straight 6s out of E-types. So we dispatched the engine straight to him and said, right, there you go, mate, fill your boots, put that into a fast road spec. Yeah.
Well, the whole point of this car, is that in here, it's a different world. Yeah. At the garage, it's a passion to do the work on cars, which is okay, and it's a lovely, you get the opportunity to work on the cars you want to work on, but it's still work.
But it's a commercial venture, it's big and it's busy and it's bustling. Here, we can stop as often as we like for a cup of coffee. Yeah. It's quite often. And I couldn't find any Garibaldi biscuits yesterday.
No, it was a bit bad.
And I went to 3 petrol stations. I couldn't. So I bought fig rolls and they were accepted. Because I did explain to them, I'm working with somebody who literally functions on Garibaldi's. So we can work at our own pace. It's great fun. We're loving doing it. So at the moment, engine and gearbox are gone. Bonnet is temporarily rested back on, but we're taking it down. Next job, glass is going to come out, trim's going to come out. We're going to get it up on the spit.
Up on a spit, and then
work your magic on the body.
Then it strip it to bare metal. But it's a lovely car to work on.
It is actually,
it's quite good. It's quite a nice car.
Shape because we didn't know what we were getting. You never do. Previous owner, quite the engineer.
Oh,
and you can tell it's been engineer maintained rather than a bodyguard. The body's good, it's fine, but so far we haven't found a nut or a bolt that won't
come undone. Every nut and bolt on this car is oiled to perfection. Everything's lock wired. The chap that owned it, David, he's a proper engineer. His dad was an aero engineer, passed all his knowledge down to him, and he's just literally he's that little bloke in his house at home, but he's the garage on a Sunday, but he looks after everything, and everything works.
And as a result, not once, and we generally speaking will take opposite jobs on opposite sides of the car. I was ahead yesterday, briefly. We haven't got stuck once, have we? At no point is it, we're going to have to cut it off, we're going to have to grind it off. Everything's come undone
on it.
And just one thing to mention, because this weekend's task was getting the IRS, independent rear suspension, whole unit out of the back. And I want you to come have a look at it, because it made me think a bit about E-types. So let's go. And as a Jag man, as I've now declared myself, everybody thinks of the big, glamorous, shiny bits up front, that straight six engine, even the Moss box, and I'm keeping that in this, as being the defining characteristics of the E-types, certainly the Series 1s. But actually this ugly lump is every bit as much a defining characteristic. It defines, in many ways, the way the E-type drives. Yeah. This does a lot, doesn't it?
It's that Jag IRS, what an amazing thing. When you first look at it, I can remember the first time I ever saw one of those, and you look at the uprights and you think there's no top suspension, you think it can't work. But it's just an amazing piece of engineering. And that actual independent rear suspension was put into so many cars, and that actually ran into production into the late 80s, I think into the 90s. So when you were driving an XJ6, XJ12, a Daimler Coupe, whatever you were driving, that was in it. And also, when you used to go to your custom car shows back in the day, and you saw your Ford Pops with big American V8s in, and all these like dragster-looking things, that was in the back of it.
I remember because I'd always, in the car magazines and the adverts, you'd always read about the custom ones, and it always said Jaguar RS.
Yeah, Jaguar
So
RS.
this lump, we took out the car yesterday, it sits at the back there, obviously, wheel, car runs that way, obviously. But when Neil was saying it looks like it shouldn't work, I mean, obviously, it does work because it lasted for years.
Yeah, perfect.
That's because this is the hub wheel here. It's on the bottom, there's an arm, it's pivoted there, but there's nothing on top. Nothing to hold it on top. Just the drive shaft here does that. Which means, because if it's set so the drive shaft is level when it's sitting, there's a drive shaft into the wheel and there's the bottom joint. When it goes under compression, that'll tilt the drive shaft up, which will effectively shorten it, so that will pull the wheel in. So it will give you
negative camber.
It's engineered in.
It'll give you negative camber exactly when you need it.
Yeah.
When it's under load.
Yeah, exactly right. So when you're leaning on it, it'll just give you that. I mean, that's like passive active steering.
Exactly.
It's that level of cleverness.
That's it, yeah. Like rear wheel steering.
Yeah, but they've worked out.
And you think about how that's designed, and people go on about British engineering, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But how brilliantly simple is that?
It's superb. You've got inboard discs, so you've got less unsprung weight on the wheels. That's good. Weight nice and close to the centre here, all under control. It's simple. You've saved weight by not having a top arm.
Yeah.
You've saved a joint.
Yeah.
You've saved friction. You've saved possible failure.
Yeah.
The drive shafts are doing 2 jobs. I can't believe that it doesn't put them under unthinkable pressure.
Yeah, you would think it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And you think about what was Jaguar's slogan? Grace, pace, and space.
Yeah.
And so you jump into a big Jag, something like a big X36, X312 back in the day, you know, a Van der Plas, Daimler, whatever, and it's lovely and smooth and no noise and quiet and powerful, and that is all that. And we worked out yesterday, didn't we? There's only 12 bolts on that to the car.
That's all we have, because we undid them all to get the thing
12
off.
12 bolts, and then it goes 12 bolts.
And that, I would say, and I'd love to hear your opinion, is as much a defining element. It gives the E-Type its characteristics, its features, the way it feels. That, as much as the 3.8 straight six up front, my favourite engine of all time.
Yeah.
And it's just an oily lump. It doesn't look anything. It's not glamorous.
No.
But that's why an E-Type feels the way it does.
Yeah. And it's something that you wouldn't give a second thought to unless you actually see it in the flesh. You'd never see it, would you? And then when it's there, you can appreciate what it is.
So that is going to be gone through, refurbed, powder coated, made absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
It's going to be reattached to the back of our Jag here.
Well, it's
and
lovely
the overall plan for this car, return it to its original dark opalescent blue. Then it's exactly the E-Type I always wanted, a 62 Coupe dark opalescent blue. Yeah. Interior colour will leave the same. We're going to go fast road spec.
Yeah, to make it a little bit... This car has actually got upgraded brakes.
It has,
which is better than the brakes you've got on your E-Type.
I know,
So you just want to go along with that and perhaps, you know, just upgrade things that are like an aluminium radiator, perhaps,
yep.
you know, obviously Kenlo fan or whatever, nice
yep.
fan, Ali Rad, you know, upgrade the brakes a bit, but you're not going to alter the actual fundamentals of the car, but make it more enjoyable and drivable.
And what I love about just spending some time looking at this yesterday, well, swearing and cursing at it,
yeah.
Is that I've never wanted to change my E-Type. No. I don't mind resto modding some cars, fine, help yourself. But an E-Type has such a distinctive feel to the way it corners, the way it handles.
Yep.
It's got a flowing pedigree feel to it. And that's where it comes from. So it's real, it's mechanical. It's not imagined by association in my mind because I think I'm in a pretty car. No. It must feel amazing. No, it does for real engineering reasons. It was built in to feel that way.
It ticked all the boxes when it was new, and it still does now.
And I'm fantastic that here to talk about one of the most glamorous and beautiful cars ever made, but we're focusing our attention on just what at first glance is an ugly metal lump hidden under the back of it, but that defines it. Yeah,
but it's genius. It's an ugly lump of genius.
It is an ugly lump of genius. Right, well, we are going to crack on with our After Hours project. If you want to see more of this E-Type as work progresses on it, or of the other E-Type, click the link in the description below to see it in Richard Hammond's workshop on Discovery Plus.